Hello, everyone. It's Nandita once again from Brandify, bringing in yet another person for you whose story is going to inspire you to do a lot more in life, challenge your limits, and also become somebody who the world looks up to for inspiration and for knowledge. I have with me a very dear friend, Amit Sharma, here. A little bit about Amit that I'm going to share was that Amit is going to share his story about himself. So Amit currently works as head of procurement for specialty vehicles in Daimler Trucks North America. I've had the privilege of working with him while he was in Daimler India Commercial Vehicles here in Chennai. And it has been an amazing journey being with him, learning from him, and also seeing him work. And I also happen to be his neighbor. So I know a lot of inside stories, which I am going to share, which he may not be willing to share as a part of the whole session here. So welcome to the Brandify Rendezvous with Nandita Amit.
Thank you, Nandita. And it is so nice to see you here. And thank you to all the friends who are listening us. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Amit. So Amit, before you start your journey, tell us, what do you do? What is all this specialty vehicles? What are you doing in North America? From Chennai to North America. So what are you doing there? What is your role there? Just explain that to us, and then we deep dive into the questions.
Yes. See, specialty vehicles are the special type of vehicles which Daimler caters to certain segments. Like there are only two countries
Okay.
in the world where special type of school bus has been made. So US and Canada are the two markets
Wow.
where special type of buses are there, and Daimler is one of the leader in those areas. So I'm head of purchasing for that. Also, we make walk-in vans, which are normally the delivery vans for the UPS, United Postal Services, as well as Amazon, and so all these e-commerce
Uh-huh.
delivery trucks, recreational vehicles, the RVs, what we call it. So these are some of the specialty vehicles which Daimler caters into, and so it's a very big market, and it's a very important market for Daimler. And I'm happy to be part of it, and I'm happy to be responsible for the entire procurement for that, based out of North Carolina.
Okay. So your journey to North America. I know you are from Indore. I know that. Okay. So how did you land up in North Carolina? Okay.
Yes, as you said, like I'm from a modest town Indore, and
Yeah.
it's a very foodie city, I can call it. So I'm also a food lover, and so from that town, and did my whole school education there, and while going through the education, while coming across a lot of newer aspects in the schools, I always used to dream like, can I do something different? Can I go beyond what is there around me,
Uh-huh.
surrounding me, in the environment? And
Uh-huh.
so, how can I stretch little bit myself? So, and I'm coming from a family where we call it Vidya hi dharohar hai. Means education is
Okay.
the asset. So that is the saying always my parents had. So because I'm not from a business background, okay. So only asset we had was an education. So that was imparted to us as a kid, and I kept that as a backbone for myself, and always striving that okay, what best I can do and what best I can achieve from the education point of view, and if I have to make that as a backbone for my own development. And after the schooling, I got the opportunity to appear for the engineering college admission, and I got admitted to one of the best MP college, which is based out of Indore, and that was really good. And
Okay.
और उससे ये एडवांटेज मिला कि कॉलेज में और क्या-क्या सीख सकते हैं, कॉलेज में नया क्या कर सकते हैं। And so I'll give you a little mix of Hindi and English because I got the request that I should speak a little bit Hindi also. So I will do that. And so while getting admitted to the engineering was one of the dream that time. Though I so after getting the admission there, I started seeing world from a different angle, different aspects. However, inside me there was always a thought: okay, what would be after this, and what would I do differently? And that is where I would say I started realizing that getting a campus job would be one aspect of it. Okay, because that is what normally students think. It could be a short term. So when I was nearing towards the end of engineering, okay, I fortunate enough to got the campus placements. But then again, something inside me was keep asking me that what is now? This is what you want to do? I said, I don't think so. I think I should strive. And being a mechanical engineer, I thought, why don't I go for the MTech? That was the immediate choice came in my mind, an immediate thought. And then I appeared for GATE. I cleared the GATE. I got the admission in IIT Delhi that time. But again, something inside me thought, should I really do this? Or globalization was the a very happening area at that time. If you remember, it was a time of 1995, 96 time. And India was really becoming big in the globalization part of it. So I thought if globalization is going to be the future and a global mindset, a broader perspective would be the requirement, why don't I at least aim for appearing for GRE and go for a higher studies in US? In a developed country would give me a really a different perspective. But coming from a background, it's not that easy that yeah, you just go for the US. So I thought, okay, why don't I take a student loan? Let's go for it. And I did that, and I appeared for that, and I got the admission in University of Chicago that time, and I went for the masters. And while doing the masters, I had various good opportunities, but I always felt one thing: always remain the core competency of yours. And I always felt that because that is the area I can excel more. Because if you remember, there's always a paradigm shift people were having that can I shift to computer science? Can I change to a field? Can I change my field? I think I can do much stronger and more confident if I remain in my core competency. And that helped me getting a research scholarship and a full tuition funding that time. And and while doing that, I got a lot of good experiences and good networks, and that helped me landing a job in Ford research and development right after my masters. And after some time, I got the opportunity to work for General Motors in research and development. I did that, and during that time, I'm happy to share that I got a patent. I worked on a design, and do have a patent on my name. And so I did that, and then journey goes on. And as I said, education was the background always coming from. So I thought, okay, should I limit myself to only engineering, or why don't I broaden myself? And that's when I appeared and thought about going for MBA. And I did my MBA from University of Michigan that time. And then I changed my area of work from research and development to more sourcing and supply chain. And I feel that remains more that more aligns with my own personality because I'm a people person. I like to talk to people. I
And
interact
I'm
with
going to get a
people.
lot of comments on that, Amit. And you said you've got one patent. I have Mr. Amitava Sinha here, and I'm going to share his comment, which says you have two patents here.
Yeah.
So, what about first? Tell us about the second patent, and it's really nice to know. Some I am feeling proud to interview somebody who has two patents on his name.
Yes, I mentioned about one patent because that's when I was in engineering that time, and the second patent I got it when I was in the more supply chain area, and I got the opportunity to work on different aspects of vehicle crashing and child
Okay.
safety and the customer safety, and so I was involved in certain design aspects of it, and I was one of the major contributor of that patent, and So I'm happy to know that Amitava still remembers that, because Amitava was my dear colleague in GM that time, and also we worked together in the Daimler later on.
So I
So
think people
continue.
don't forget people who have two patents. I would only say that. We don't come
uh,
across people who have two patents, right?
okay, no, thank you for knowing that. And
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
and then with the supply chain and that experiences, I was keep thinking that okay, now I have good years of experience in US. Should I become the part of the journey in India? And my family perspective, I do have a very caring and inspirational life partner. So she
Okay.
also supported me well. And then with the two small kids that time, we decided to move back to India after 15 years in US.
Okay.
And that's when I got the opportunity to work for Daimler India Commercial Vehicles. And I joined that greenfield project, and that really gave me a lot of unique opportunities to know about the industries, to know about the people, and how to from ground zero to how to make the complete organization. So I was part of the organization built up,
Hmm.
and I had a lot of good mentors that time, good colleagues that time, Amitava being one of them. And
Mutual admiration here. Okay.
yeah, and that's when we also met, Nandita, if you remember. You used to be in
Yes.
our HR partner, and so that was an experience, and that really helped me a lot, growing myself, and I would say challenging myself beyond the limit. And I got the opportunity to work as a head of entire operation at the end of it. And then last year, I got the opportunity with Daimler Trucks North America for the role which we mentioned
Okay.
earlier. And I thought, like, let's take this opportunity. I think this will also give me a little more wider aspects and more learning, because I feel learning is the aspect which I think we all should remain hunger, keep that hunger in
Hmm.
us. And so I kept that motivation and self-reliance that I can do it. And again, my family helped me a lot, and we are back now here. And so this is a short journey to North Carolina from Indore.
Indore via Chicago, Chennai, and then North Carolina. Okay, that's how you've traveled. Okay, Amit, a question. You've been in the corporate for a long time, and you worked across geographies. And with Daimler, I think you worked across. We work with people who are across regions, geographies, nationalities. What do you think it takes to be success in a corporate world? What are some of the things that you attribute success to when you're working in a diverse organization as Daimler, or maybe even a Ford for that matter? You know, so yeah.
See, one of the aspects, being in a cross-cultural and also an environment where you see the diversity. Because when we talk about diversity, we tend to talk about diversity. If we talk about an Indian perspective, we always talk about diversity means males and females, because that's where we end.
Exactly.
Okay?
Gender, yes.
We don't. The diversity could be in terms of the religions. Diversity could be in terms of the country, the beliefs, and which I happened to see that when I was working in GM. I could see the people from so many nationalities from GM and Ford, both areas. Like, I remember that time we had 60 different nationalities representing the supply chain organization that time when I was in GM. And
Okay.
so when you're working in such a diverse environment and a diverse group of people, the important aspect we should remember is, first of all, you have to listen to the people and
Okay.
get the feel of them, that okay, what is, because expectations could be totally different. we
Okay.
you we can say yes like this, and we can say yes like this also, that, correct? So this is a small gesture, that this is how it goes, because I have seen how a Romanian can behave, how a Russian can behave, how a Japanese would behave, because they have a totally different aspects, correct?
Yeah.
So if you have in a diverse work environment, you have to understand and be adaptive enough to
Okay.
to un- to know them, and
Mm-hmm.
then incorporate those skill sets in yourself, that okay, how would I communicate? My communication has to be different. I cannot
Okay.
I cannot behave somebody the way I'm behaving to my fellow colleague from India or from an American or from a Russian or whoever. I have to adopt to the changes, and I think this is one of the core aspects. I would say, with being in a diverse environment, be a good listener, and and keep adaptive, because flexibility is the key of it. And uh, and so these are the two areas I would say one has to remain very prudent and very smart enough.
So I believe you are prudent and you are smart because you've moved up the corporate ladder. What, according to you, are some of the key ingredients which a person needs to have, not only in a diverse environment, but even otherwise, in terms of, you spoke about skills, right? But are skills the only thing that is required to move up? Is the question that I have. So yes, listening skills you spoke about, being adaptive is what you spoke about. But if I'm only good at my professional life or my, you know, core competence, is it good enough to move up the corporate ladder? Is a question that I wanted to ask you.
See, I would call it like the important aspect becomes how do you present yourself, correct? How do you
Okay.
make your own uh, oneself? How do you represent yourself? So I
Okay.
would call it like I remember like one of the leader we had at that time who gave us three C's, if you remember. I created three C's for the I would say representing ourselves. We need to
Okay.
have a content, which what you mentioned about the core competency. So one
Yes,
is
of
the
course.
content part of it.
Hmm.
However, I would now modify it to more from the communication, and then I would more call it in terms of the conduct. The conduct is more the behavior part of it. So content, communication, and the conduct, and these are the aspects I would say one has to remain very very uh, intentional about it, because it's all about the intention. Okay, do I really have intention to become a communication, a willingness for my communication should be there, that am I expressing it myself in a way which is presentable? Am I smart enough to know about the audience? Am I smart enough to know about the environment that I'm talking about? So these are the some of the aspects are there. So in the I won't say climbing the ladder in the corporate would be the one aspect. However, uh, these are some of the means, because normally we measure ourselves. Okay, success means you should get the promotion. Okay, success means you should be climbing the ladder only. However,
Okay, so what is
uh,
success? And define success, Amit.
however, I would say
Yeah,
success is more about what makes you feel good about yourself. Okay,
beautiful. That's
okay,
nice.
and how you feel satisfied. Because I will,
Mhm.
besides job, I you know that I also play tennis, correct? So I
Yes,
also
of
feel
course.
good
Like,
when I'm. So
I've got some requests there also, Amit. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
so
Success is how you feel. Okay. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
and also like how do you balance yourself? Okay, so and how comfortable you remain, and so aspects which is important from the successful professional perspective for sure would be that how do you create your own brand, correct? You talk about the personal branding, correct? I know you are and I'll ask you about the personal branding to yourself. Okay, but if I look at the personal branding, how am I how somebody is expressing themselves,
Okay.
how you are adjusting to the environment, as I said, and are you smart enough, intentional enough to bring those changes in yourself?
Okay.
Because there is an audience there. Okay, there is an audience who will be listening to you, who will be making who will be making their judgment about you, about the person, and create a perception about the person. So all those are important aspects, and in today's professional environment, one thing is for sure: there's always a spotlight on you whenever you are walking, whenever you're talking.
Okay.
Okay, so you always have to remain uh, conscious enough how you are
Mhm.
caring, how you are carrying yourself. And I think that is the aspect where, whether you call it communication, whether you call it content, or whether you call it as I mentioned, conduct. So these are some of the areas I would say.
Amit, I will take the liberty of using the three C's I'm talking about in my training programs going forward, and I will give you due credit. Don't worry about that. Yeah, so that's really nice. You spoke about something about you being speaking in your regional language and you being into poetry and balancing life. We'll come to that a little later. But I worked in India with a lot of corporates, and what I see here is a lot of emphasis is given only to content somewhere. The packaging is such that if you have content, the belief system is such. Uh, if you have a lot of content, and that's a belief, right? People go up the ladder. And in fact, that is what I was sharing with you a couple of minutes back before we started, that we are coaching some people and they believe that these are women in mid-management level and they believe, oh, I have so much of content, but nobody's promoting me, nobody's giving me good projects. They feel left out. So what would be your recommendation to such people who are very high on content, but somewhere they don't believe in projection, maybe they don't believe in communication or conduct? So anything would you like to say on that?
uh, from the content perspective, what I would say, because I have seen, because I and being in the part of the totally greenfield project in India, I really got the opportunity to hire a lot of talents and making a whole operation from staffing to a totally full blown organization. So I've seen how people feel about it, how they think that if I have a content, then I should people should listen to me, correct?
Exactly.
However however one thing which has changed over the period of time, these are the, I would say, a transformational uh, paradigm which has been shifted over the years.
Okay.
Only content won't help. Content would help for sure in critical thinking. Content will help in developing your self confidence, that I know the matter, so I am a subject matter expert. Okay, that has to be there for sure.
Very nice.
You cannot blabber about it.
Yeah, that's the
You
baseline.
are so, but the question comes now, how I am going to express it. Because one thing I'm seeing it, when people
Very true.
fail, if people come and tell you, I don't want to work with you,
Hmm.
okay, whatever good I am, if
Mhm.
people don't like my personality, people don't like the way I talk to them, people don't like the way I show my gestures to them, I think that is,
Mhm.
so what would I do with my degrees? I have if I have two masters and I have a couple of patents on my name, but if people don't like the way I talk to them, and if I'm not conscious enough in that area, will it be a success for me? And that is where I feel from the leadership point of view, uh, I think a lot of changes are needed, and people have to be conscious enough for that. That how to bring those softer aspects, and how to become not only expressing yourself, because we are normally, our leadership concept has one way street. You listen to me, okay. However, the important aspect of the leader is you should have a good listening as well, and because there is a viewpoint, there are certain aspects people under you also have, and this is what I would see uh, has to be captured, remain a good and bring up good listening behavior along with the content. So I said content, I'm not denying that part, as I mentioned earlier. Content part of it
Yeah.
has to be there, but then how do we build? You have to be part of the team, correct? And so that's where you have to balance out and bring those softer aspects to it.
Okay. So taking the three C's forward, and I think I love the three C concept, so I will just delve deeper into that. How important do you think? And you worked in India, you worked outside, you worked in organizations which are multi-cultural. Uh, how important is having an executive presence or a personal brand in organizations if you want to move up, not only up the ladder, but get the right kind of visibility in an organization? How important is it according to you?
No, this is very, I would say that is very, very important aspect of it, because
Okay.
if you are coming from a totally new, you are coming to a new environment. Okay, I can
Mhm.
just, because as I said, though I moved recently here, though I'm coming from a Daimler family, but I'm totally new to the Daimler North America family. Nobody knows me here, and so then how do you project yourself? How do you make people know you? So in that case, first of all,
Mhm.
you have to make your own brand. You have to make your own network, and
Okay.
network means how do you how do you introduce yourself, how do you express yourself, okay, and that you can bring along with your, okay, this is what all I can do,
Mhm.
that comes from my own expression, that comes from my own way of communication. But
Okay.
will people be interested in that? Because I cannot be just say, oh, I am so great about it, because that I can tell you right now that shuts off people very easily, and that's where normally people fall. Okay, yeah, I'm going all these areas, I'm meeting all these people, but somehow they don't listen to me, because I cannot be just talking about myself. If I'm going to if I'm going for a mentorship, the important aspect of the mentorship, I have to listen, I have to understand from their experiences, I have to learn from their learnings. Okay, I don't have to go to the same, I don't have to repeat the same mistakes what they might have done it, but can I bring out by expressing myself and have those learnings imparted within us, and then bring those changes, and keep honing on it, and then, because and that's where I would say the important aspect of meeting the people, carrying yourself, bringing your own brand, because what you believe, brand means a brand has a traits, correct, a brand has a value. What is the, in that case, what is the value you would create? Because we always talk about McDonald's has a brand, correct, Apple is a brand, so it carries some value, correct, Mercedes Benz is a brand. So if I want to create my own brand, then somebody would ask me, okay, then what value would you believe in?
Hmm.
So then you should be, the person should know that, okay, yes, I believe in this. This is what is my, I believe, and I will, I'll show it with my deed, my actions, and that becomes the important aspect of it. That
So
and
what
people should
does
observe.
brand Amit stand for? You said value. So what does brand Amit stand for? I've got some from Joginder sir here who says he's a very genuine person. That's his perception about you. But what does brand Amit actually stand for? What are the
Yeah,
value that you bring onto the table?
I would say genuinity. Thank you for Joginder ji bringing that out.
You can't copy that, Amit.
uh,
You can't copy that.
and no, for sure, I want to remain respectful. That is
Okay.
the aspect I always like to create it. And
Okay.
when you are respectful, you have to remain, integrity part of it is very important, and I always believe in that. And
Great.
integrity to me is something which I'm doing it when nobody else is observing me. Okay, and I'm remaining truthful to myself, even if
Okay.
it is not under the observance or not been asked for.
Okay. Very
So, so I would keep the integrity, I would keep the respect part of it, and I would keep the composure part of it. And as you know, I also write sometimes. So I would like to, and that is my brand image would be that I would say I would like to be a creative writer. At least express myself in that.
nice.
So these are some of the things I
I
would
want
bring
to
it
add
myself.
something here, Amit. And I
Yeah.
so okay, genuinity. Now I want to share this to our listeners here. When I asked Amit, can you give me two words to describe yourself so that I can put it out in the poster that we had? And Amit wrote back, supply chain professional, and he wrote a writer. So I must share this with you. When I gave it back to my team to make the poster, they came and said, "Ma'am, is he a poet? Is he a writer? How many plays has he written?" So I said, "No, he's a poet at heart. He's a writer at heart." Right, and I do see a lot of your writings. Of course, I read a lot of your writings on Facebook. We will come to that also, but something that you said a little time back was about having an overall personality when you spoke about brand and you being called successful, right? It's not only about moving up the ladder. So coming back to that, Amit, I know you play sports,
Yeah.
and having lived in the same apartment, I remember there used to be a fight in the apartment whose team with Amit joined, because that team typically would become the tennis winner. Okay, so and I do know you're right. So how important are other aspects apart from just work in in your life? And there's a question by Shweta who says, how do you actually balance your personal and professional life? That's something. Yes. You've been talking about family very often. So two
Yeah.
questions, much. Yeah.
No, I would say because we all talk about work-life balance, because this is a very, I would say, loosely used word. Uh,
Huh.
However, not easily followed. Okay, how I can see it, and
Mm-hmm.
because one has to remain intentional and putting an effort for it, because the somehow I have seen it. Uh, we easily give up when we say, "Oh, I'm hardworking." It means I have time only for the work which I have. Okay, and I'm not going to talk about anything else, and then you feel proud about it. However, you have a responsibility to the family, you have a responsibility to your kids, to your parents, and to your wife, and to your society. And this is the aspect I would say, if I would have remained in Indore, I may not have learned it, but I have seen while remaining experiencing in US for a longer period. However, also I got the opportunity while working in India, being a role being a global nature. I got the opportunity to be in Japan, to be in Germany, to Korea, to various countries. How I have observed is, you have to be truthful to yourself. Okay, what you want to do. Okay, if I really want to balance it, I really have to put a conscious effort for it. And I remember when I was in Chennai that time, I had to leave for the office. If you remember, the plant used to be like 1 hour away from the home, and I used to leave at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I was told that, okay, once you go to the plant, anyway you cannot play the tennis, because I used to play tennis earlier, 7 to 8 a.m. I said, if it is 7 o'clock, I have to leave. I can be awake by 4:30, correct, or 4:45, and I can play 5 to 6. That is something I can do because that is my time, and I'm happy to share that I adjusted my schedule, and you all know me very well,
Yes,
and
when I used to walk and run children to school, Amit would be playing tennis in the tennis court. That was a regular
so,
sight.
so one has to remain intentional about it, and
Okay.
and it will not work, and that passion has to be developed, because I have a passion to play tennis, and that I'm doing it here also in US. And secondly, talk about the written part of it, like what I write.
Mm-hmm.
The writing gives me
Oh,
a sense of achievement, that okay, and also bringing out the criticality of looking at things, and
okay.
I will share with you later on how I like to observe things, and I like to write about it. And I'm not into the poetry. I'm not going to write something which is as something like fiction for a part of it. I always like to keep it more personal and more my experiences, how would I see it, and it gives me a personal satisfaction as well as a more critical thinking aspects of mine.
Okay, so before we move ahead, since we are talking about your writing, and I have a special request to say, please ask Amit to share something in typically Indori language. You love it. So, Amit, something there with on popular demand, and then we will proceed with the remaining part of the interview.
नहीं, इंदौरी इंदौरी लैंग्वेज मुझे मालूम है, जोगिंदर सिंह ने कहा होगा ये. So
You know your friend very well. That's what I can say. But कुछ सुनाइए जरूर, please.
नहीं, इंदौर की लैंग्वेज जो होती है उसमें एक चीज इंपॉर्टेंट होती है कि हम लोग जो भाषा बोलते हैं
हाँ जी,
वो क्लिष्ट हिंदी में होती है, मतलब एक साफ हिंदी जो बोली जाती है वो
जी,
इंदौर में बोली जाती है.
हाँ,
अब जो चालू भाषा की इंदौरी है वो तो मतलब एक अलग होती है. बाकी बाकी एक चीज मैं बोलूंगा कि आप लोग जो न्यूज में कई बार हिंदी न्यूज आया करती थी पहले, आजकल तो नहीं आती है खैर, पर जब हिंदी न्यूज पहले आया करती थी उसमें जो हिंदी बोली जाती है वो हिंदी
हाँ.
इंदौर में बोली जाती है. तो
दो
मैं आपको जैसे कुछ लिखा है मैंने, मैं जोगिंदर सिंह को समर्पित करता हूँ ये, कि
ओके, हाँ जी,
बस बस कुछ बदल सा गया, घर पर बैठे बैठे कुछ दूरियां बनाते कई अपनों से, जो आजकल चल रहा है ना हमारा, हम अपनों से दूरियां बना रहे हैं आजकल, हम लोग सब क्वारंटाइन हैं, तो
हाँ
घर पर बैठे बैठे कुछ दूरियां बनाते अपनों से, यादों की गर्द हटाते हुए पहुंचा उस पर. हाँ, वो एक आखिरी रोटी होती थी जो सदा ज्यादा होती थी किसी के लिए. आपको याद हो अपनी मम्मी रोटी बनाती थी इन दोनों अपने घरों में, एक आखिरी रोटी होती थी जो सदा किसी के लिए होती थी. फिर कहा जाता, जाओ देखो उसे, कहीं दिख जाए तो. फिर ढूंढना उसे उन गलियों में, मिलने पर दौड़कर आना और ले जाना वो रोटी। काफी कुछ बदल सा गया, पर वो आखिरी रोटी बाट जो होती रही। आज कहीं शायद ढूंढ रही होगी उस बचपन को, जिसमें वो रोटी हम दिया करते थे। तो ये
Awesome. Really nice.
तो
It takes you back to your childhood days. At least it took me back to my days when हमारे घर में भी वही होता था अमित. I
है
come
ना,
from the north part of this country, तो एक एक्स्ट्रा रोटी हमेशा बना करती थी.
है ना, तो हमेशा ढूंढा करते थे, गाय को दिखाने के लिए ढूंढा करते थे हम लोग।
ढूंढना जरूर होता था. हाँ जी.
तो
Really ब्यूटीफुल. तो अमित एक सवाल और पूछती हूँ मैं इसी से रिलेटेड. यू आर बीन इनटू स्पोर्ट्स, यू आर इनटू you know, you said there has to be an intention put out across. Okay. I have been hearing from a lot of comments, and you can't see them, I can see them very clearly. One aspect of your personality which a lot of people have spoken about is you crack a lot of witty jokes, and there is Chinmay who has written that. I'm going to put it up also. Same has been repeated by Amit, Sandeep Tiwari, uh, and also you know, shared by Abhishek Avasthi. So ऑफिस में काम करते थे या मस्ती करते थे?
See,
I need to know this because I thought you guys were working very seriously.
I always used to have one saying, और संदीप तो खैर अच्छे से जानता है. I always used to have one saying, you have to be sincere then serious.
Wow,
So
beautiful.
and we always keep it more serious aspect. Okay, show a stern face in the office. Okay, people should, and there should be a frown in your face, because that is a normally a typical leadership behavior we like to show. Okay, correct. So, and I can tell you right now, correct, and I can tell you right now, all those leadership behavior are only liked during those periphery of four walls. Okay, the moment you are out, nobody is going to like you. Okay, so so one aspect of that part of it. So, and from the wittiness point of view, when you talk about, I always used to keep it environment lighter, because I always felt if you engage the colleagues like Chinmay, okay, he's a young. I remember young MBA graduate. I interviewed that time, and we hired him, and so we used to share a lot of things. We used to share, correct, all the young with the youngsters, and how would you engage with them? Okay, if I talk about all the philosophical aspects of corporate world, okay, and I expect them, if they see me, they should see as a person, not only as a, oh, one of the KPI is going to reviewed with me, correct, because that is the normally aspect of leaders people like to see. But I think this is where the human touch get lost, and I feel that's what is needed, that keep the environment lighter, but you have to be performance driven. Nobody is questioning about that. Okay, it's not like just because you are talking wittily, or at least you are taking things making things lighter for the people, you are not performance driven. You can be little, you can have a smiley face and still you can ask somebody. And I'm happy to share the team what we had, and the colleagues like Sandeep, who are my one of the best friend I have in my life. We can talk about that
Sandeep today.
performance wise we have achieved great. However, because of these personal touch and with the engagements, I could see the team bonding was much more stronger, and people can go beyond to their limit to
Envy in
support.
your department. I always remember supply chain वाले इतनी दोस्ती कैसे करते हैं. That was something I always envied, sitting on the other side from the HR cubicle, and I was used to wonder, you know, how come such strong bonding in these teams? Everybody just stands up for everybody else. It was a beautiful experience to see as HR, where we used to force people to say, you know, you need to bond together. Here was a team. I think the entire team, I must say, that time I was there, was very, very well bonded. And I've seen all these beer and biryani parties also that used to happen. Yeah. So I'm a witness to that also. Okay, Amit, since we are talking about you being an all-rounder, developing people and your team, I have with me a very interesting colleague of yours,
Okay.
okay, who is, I must say, as versatile as you are. So I have with me Anirudh from Daimler here. Anirudh has been a part of your team for the last 6 years, and he joined as a GET with you.
Mhm.
And he says, I have worked with Amit sir for most part of these 6 years, and he's an efficient guy. He's been recognized for his performance at DICV, which I am not even denying. But what I liked about his thing is he also is a part of the Daimler cricket team, and he's into trekking and motorcycling. So, is it a mandate that people who join your team need to be versatile, need to be into sports and into good work and everything? Is that a mandate by when you're selecting a team member or getting people on board? Apart from the typical DICV criteria, do you look at that?
No, I would say I would not generalize to only one aspect of only one organization. How I would say is I always used to ask the questions
Mhm.
in my interviews. I remember that time. Those are different questions. My question used to be different. I always used to ask them the softer aspect of it. Okay. I remember asking, okay, Anirudh, it's very great to see you.
Guys, we'll
Can
welcome
you?
Anirudh. Anirudh has worked with Amit for 6 years, and he's going to share some inside stories about Amit, right, Anirudh? So, yeah,
Absolutely.
just continue what you were saying, Amit. I just wanted everybody to see who you were talking about. Who is
Okay.
Anirudh? Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
No, nice to see you, Anirudh. No, what I was talking about is I always used to ask in the interviews the questions which are more related to the softer aspect of it, because the softer aspect will tell you the
Hmm.
beliefs and the philosophy of a person, the thoughts
Okay.
of a person. And these are more important because when you come to the working environment, uh, your technical aspects or your content related to the job
Hmm.
can always be monitored. But how would I know what you believe in?
Okay.
Okay, that do you really care? What do you really care about? What are you passionate about? Because you all know, we all have appeared for the interviews, and during the time of interviews, I can always say, oh, I'm the greatest for XYZ job. Okay, whatever
Yeah.
I'm coming from. However, how would I differentiate between a person who said, okay, I'm also doing great in this job, and I have three people. If I had to select one of them, what will be my differentiation factor or what will be my differentiation criteria? And that's where I will see, okay, what, for example, Anirudh, I remember asking him that time, what you do, and he happened to be one of the tennis player, so that was obvious choice. I have to select him, correct?
Yeah,
So,
selective. So,
so,
this is a message for all the listeners. If you want to get interviewed by Amit, please mention that you are a tennis player. Yeah.
so, and that gives me sports can give me a sporting spirit. Okay, how would I judge it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
how a person who is playing can
Ah.
have ups and downs, failures, he has seen it. How have you adopted to that situations? And this is what I would be interpreting it, that somebody, and I would ask those kind of questions. And this is how I would say somebody has to remain uh, interested enough, and please express yourself, and please express yourself, because it's nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong in saying that I, besides job, I do have a life. There's nothing wrong in saying that. So,
So
so these are
we'll
the
have to listen to Anirudh now. And Anirudh, what was your experience working with Amit? Uh, yeah.
Yeah, so two of the brightest memories about working with Amit, I'll tell you. Number one was when I joined Daimler in 2014. Day one of office, first person from the management to approach you is Amit sir, and he walks up to you and he says, "Come to the meeting room. All the GTs are there now." And he talks about everything other than work and our background. He asks us every question about what we do in our co-curriculars, what are our interests, things like this. So these are one of the best icebreakers to have, working on day one in a corporate office. So this is one of the brightest memories. Second memory I would say is having a very competitive tennis match which we played. We usually play doubles, so more often than not, I've been lucky enough to partner with Amit. So we always ended up playing quite competitive tennis, and it was a lot of fun whenever we played. So other than this, in my experience, at least at a professional front, I find Amit, you're very open-minded and very approachable. One of the best things is his cabin is open all the time. You can just walk in and have a conversation with him. He's never gonna stop you, and he's always open to new ideas from coming from anybody. It doesn't matter you have to be a senior or anything of that kind. You are open. You have an open door to go walk in and put in your idea in front of him. He also brings in fresh energy for any kind of activities that we are having, any kind of workshops, meetings. He's always having fresh energy and positivity, so which is a great thing about Amit. At the same time, he's a very good motivator, and he's really good at managing relationships, professional relationships with our supplier partners. So these are things anybody can learn from. And last but not the least, you were discussing just before this, he's not all about work. You'll always find him walking up to anybody in office and having a normal conversation, talking about things completely outside of work. With me, it was usually about tennis because we both of them were very passionate about tennis. So we talked about sports and things that are completely outside of work. So these things are really good about Amit.
Thank you.
Whatever Amit has claimed and whatever I see in comments, you've just validated that, Anirudh. Did Amit talk to you before the session to tell you what to say here?
So absolutely.
So, Anirudh, your questions to Amit, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, couple of questions, Amit. Number one, a couple of things you've already touched upon, but I thought I should still ask you. Somebody who's now coming in with 6 years, roughly 6 years of work experience, what should be the main values and skills that one must develop to move forward into managerial roles?
I think one aspect which is really important would be how would you build and gain the trust of your seniors? Okay, and the important aspect of that would be that how consistent are you in your performance? Okay, and can somebody put on your shoulder if a task, a work, or something has been given to Anirudh or whoever? Okay, can I trust that? Okay, yeah, he'll do it. Okay, that confidence has to be built. That trust has to be built, and don't and people and somebody should not remain only about the role what I have. Can I go beyond? Can I contribute beyond that? If I've been given task 1, 2, 3, now that's where the your critical thinking aspect come into picture. Should I do? Should I hone it? Should I add something different here? And can I go beyond? I think these are the expectations are there from, and because when you talk about the managerial role, typically what it means is that you will be aspiring to lead a people, team members, correct? So when you want to be a leader, you want to. So there should be. So leader does not mean okay, I will say something and somebody will just do it for me. Can I bring? Can I have a relationship here? Can I build a relationship here? And can people be as you mentioned about the approachable, correct? Okay, when am I approachable? Am I reliant? Am I flexible enough that okay, I can adopt to those changes whatever is needed tomorrow? So these are the, I would say, aspects from the going from a junior entry level a person who goes into the organization has to aim for something, but you have to build up slowly and gradually. So I would say keep these aspects into mind, and please be listener, because that is the one thing happens with the youngsters normally. They tend to not listen. Okay, they see okay, I'm coming out from college, I have a lot of energy. I'm not talking about only you, I'm talking about in general. Then you forgot the part of it. Okay, now you are in an environment where you have to adopt. So the more I listen, the more I observe, the more learnings I can bring in myself, and then I will behave accordingly. So I think these are the aspects, I would say, some of the aspects you can keep in mind. Should help you for sure. And you're sure, I know you're very well. You are a future leader in my terms. So you have those traits. Keep it up that way.
Thanks a lot for the answer, sir.
Any other question,
Just another
Anirudh?
quick question, sir. I was wondering, speaking about networking, which you also mentioned previously, can you tell us an example of how networking has helped you move forward, and how can one improve his or her networking skills?
See, I would say, if I talk about myself, knowing the approach yourself. I mentioned earlier that okay, I'm coming new into the new family, whether this was a family of GM in the past or family of even the family of you are coming as a student to the new totally when I came here master totally new environment, correct? So network means you are willing to learn from the group of people or from an individual whom you would be approaching, okay, and you would like to observe them and learn some and bring the sharing aspects of it. And it really helped me, I would say, because I could see a lot of mentors I have observed during my career, till now, and I always believe in that these learnings never stops, as you all know. So uh, I always keep observing people, and I always keep adopting it, whatever is I think I should improve upon these areas, whether this could be a communication aspects of it, or it could be a thinking or an approach aspect of it. I think those aspects are really important. And now I'll come to the point you said, like how networking would help. It will certainly help in building the relationship within the organization. There will be a visibility to the people. So don't just limit yourself. For example, I know you are currently sitting in a team. You have to first of all see beyond your team, beyond your beyond your department, and then you talk about it. Okay, do I see somebody? Do I am in purchasing supply chain area? Can I talk to somebody in finance? And just show mind there. Okay, how do you do it? What are the challenges you have? What are the areas? And do you think you need anything from me? Can I help you somewhere? So that opens up an area where somebody can also express
Right.
their departmental side of it, their operational side of it, and you can bring your energy. Then you can bring your addition there. Oh yeah, I think something like that. I am doing it. Can I help you in that? Just imagine what you have done is you have built a relationship with somebody, and you have also expressed what else can you do. And this is how I would say, this is how you can bring the channel, bring the people, and make somebody know. Oh yeah, there is a Anirudh beyond what he is in a team. So I think that's important, because normally people do not like to sit, do not like to leave the desk. And in today's social environment, social media environment, I should say, I think it's always have a good intention with a willingness to go beyond and approach somebody, because that's where the ego aspect come into picture. Why would I go and ask somebody else? I'm great, I know everything. That won't help. So I would say keep those aspects of it, and certainly networking helps. And what we are doing right now is the networking, correct? We are talking to each other, we are sharing to each other. And networking does not mean that okay, you always have an intention behind it. Okay, this is what I want to achieve. No, no, somewhere you just want to talk about it, correct? So this is how you build the trustful relationship and build the relationship. I hope
Thanks a
I
lot. Absolutely, you of course answered the question.
Beautiful. So thank you, Anirudh, for coming in. It was nice listening to somebody who's worked with Amit. See, branding is always about what people say about you. So I've heard a lot of comments. I have Amit's fan followers there on Facebook today. But I also wanted to speak to somebody who's actually had the privilege of working with Amit to see what do they have to say. So thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you here and asking questions to Amit.
thank you,
Thanks a
Anirudh.
lot.
Talk to you.
I also have one more person, and I'm going to invite her. Now, this girl has worked with Amit as an intern. Okay, and I'm going to read out her profile. She is a student and currently who's done her internship. I'm just going to read out her profile right away. One second, guys. Yeah. So she's an undergrad production engineer, and she started off a corporate career as an internship under Amit and at the ICV, of course. And after that, she's worked professional experience 1 year in Bosch today. She's currently pursuing her master's in industrial engineering, and she's an artist, an instrumentalist, and fitness and sports enthusiast. Guys, before I go ahead and introduce Aishwarya to you and bring her on screen, a word of advice, a word of my understanding out of this whole interview up to now and interaction is, if you want to work with Amit ever in your life, ensure that you play a sport or you are a fitness expert. Otherwise, you don't need to work with him at all. Hi Aishwarya, welcome to this rendezvous, and it is a pleasure welcoming you here and share your experience of working with Amit.
Hi Nandita, hi sir.
Hello, Shwari, how are you?
I'm good, sis. I have had the best start to my corporate career when I did my internship in Daimler. So I have two things to mention. One is on the professional side, and one is on my, the artist in me. So in both ways, sir has been a motivation. So I was an undergrad from, and I was into this corporate world for the first time, and I always was a shy kid and was very shy in opening up and expressing. So it was my 1 month project at Daimler, and I still remember how nervous I was for the presentation, but I don't know. I felt at home when I presented in front of Amit sir, and post that he further motivated me and asked me to come back for another opportunity for another 6 months project, and that time it was a real-time project. As an intern, I felt really honored, and about the artist in me, he motivated me. He just he got to know that I sketch, so he gave me an opportunity to sketch and kind of portray it to him and express it. So in both ways, he's been an inspiration.
Thank you, Shwari.
Aishwarya. So your question to Amit.
So, sir, so I would like to ask you a few questions from a student's point of view. Because I came to do masters. I still remember the story that you shared when we went to our team building activity, and I was inspired, and that's why I'm here doing my masters. So, as an intern, okay, an intern is a novice who comes to the organization to gain professional experience, sir. These individuals possess fundamental, basically, they only have the theoretical knowledge. But what are certain competencies that you think that the student really has to have for you to hire them? What do you think those traits would be?
I think that's a very good question coming from a student right now. And you said like an intern, or I should say any student, what should they be thinking about? See, theoretical aspects of the knowledge, whatever somebody is gaining during the education, should help you hone your critical thinking, and should help you grasping more, because normally we say how education is helping me. Okay, I read about the physics while I'm doing something different in the office, correct? So those formulas, whatever I have done for the integration of the mathematics, anyway, I'm not using it in the office.
Yeah.
But the aspects, what becomes important is, and that's where the education helps you, is how in those, while you're solving those mathematics questions, how critical you were thinking, how you were deriving that theorem or whatever was there. Those were the challenges you will see in a practical aspects of life, correct? In the corporate world or anything you would do.
Yes.
So those aspects are important for, and that should become the core competency of the student.
Okay.
That okay, now I am good, and why parents always used to say, "Beta study अच्छी कर लो." क्यों बोलते थे? The reason for that is they know the more you study, you become the focused. You have your focus, okay, and you are not getting diverted on anything else, and then okay, I'm developing, I'm honing myself, and this is how I would remain. So these are the aspects. The theoretical aspect should help you in that. So any student, for sure, should remain focused and should be disciplined enough to bring that critical aspects of it. However, what is needed from the now from the job aspects of it, what is needed would be, am I bringing a self confidence? If I'm sitting across and if I am representing myself, because I'm sitting across the table only for 1 hour, correct? For an interview or any conversation.
Yes.
Okay. How I'm showing a self confidence, because I know it. Okay, what I'm doing right now, I can talk about it. And I remember having the discussion with you, and this is what has to be there. That okay, can you have an eye contact? Can you talk to the person, and can you remain self confident? Can do attitude, which becomes very important. That yes, I can do it, because you don't know what you're getting into, what you're signing up for.
Yes.
None of us know. If somebody says, well, okay, I got my campus job and I know what I'm going to do, it's all false, correct?
Yes.
Nobody knows what is expected from me. Tomorrow I'll be going to the office and somebody asks me, okay, open this Excel sheet and now start working on it. But I was doing it yesterday. I was doing the college project. Okay?
Yes.
Chatting with my friends, having fun. And now you're asking me to sit at my desk and asking me to build this spreadsheet here and do some analysis here. What is expected from me here? So, but these are the expectation from you. So in that case, self confidence would help you. Can do attitude will help you. And I also expressed earlier, please listen.
Okay.
The listening aspect would really help. So in terms of the hiring, if we talk about, I think during the college time, hone the skills in terms of the expressing. How can I improve my communication? How can I portray myself as a self-confident person, and express an interest in whatever new is coming on my way?
Okay.
Because I will not be asking you question from your physics or chemistry, correct?
Okay.
I'll be asking you question totally from a totally different area,
Yes.
or anybody in that regards. So those aspects should help any student to get it.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. It was really valid points. And I have another question, sir. One quick question. So, in today's scenario, what would you suggest the current education system so that it can bridge the gap between making every student jump from the today's academic world to being industry ready? So, what changes would you make to the current education system?
See, I think I have expressed this same question I've been asked. I remember when I went to IIT Madras that time, and one of the students asked me, okay, that we are now, because they were all like third year students, BTech students, and we are all smart guys, so we are all ready for it. Then I told him, okay, so I would make your question a little bit different, and I would answer that I won't call it industry readiness. I would more call it a real world readiness. Okay, you are going to see a real world.
Yes.
Because when you are in an educational environment, you are in a structured. There is a structured syllabus. Okay, correct. Yeah. There is a structure. There is a professor going to come. You will be attending their lectures. So there is a structure in place. There is no uncertainty. There is no dynamism there. You know what is going to be the pace of it. But when you are preparing yourself, because the moment you are out, 4 years are done, now you are out of the college. Now suddenly things have changed, correct? The transition will happen to the real world.
Yes.
So I will call it not only industry point of view, I will call it like more from the real world point of view. So how would you prepare, but remaining conscious enough during the college itself? And it's not like the education system has to be changed. The only thing is what you get out of that education system. Okay, I asked this question to one of the professor I remember from the IIT Madras at the time, that okay, when you give the group assignment example, what do you expect from the people? What students do and what do you expect? But nobody has thought that way, correct? I said, okay, let me give you my perspective on that. I said, like, what students would do normally. Okay, we are 5 students. We've been given a group task. One of the student will work. Four of them will just say, oh yeah, I also did it. I'll contribute here and there. Your assignment is done. Correct. However, now take a step back. What is expected here? Expected is, and there is no need for the education change. I said, like, educational system does not need to be changed because they're already giving you a group assignment. So that aspect is there. Now, what is expected is, can you work with the people? Can you work with each other? Can you listen to each other? Can you listen and adopt? Yeah, okay, you can also have a point, and I can also make changes to myself after listening to your point. It's not like only I am the correct one. You could also be the correct, and I might have to step back. You might be 80% correct, I might be 20%. That's okay. But can we do that aspect of it? So that is what is needed in the real world. Because the moment you come to the office or anybody comes to the corporate world, the day one expected from you is, oh, you should be a team player, correct? Nandita, you were the HR person, correct? And you always used to ask that question, oh, you have to be a team player. I said, like, but that fellow student doesn't know what is a team player means. And that's where the question of you, what you mentioned, Aishwarya, comes into, I would say, important. That during the education time, all these group assignments can be used for that aspects.
Okay.
Another aspect could be like, okay, whenever you are appearing for any seminars or anything like that, focus upon, am I expressing, my communication is clear enough?
Okay.
Am I expressing, am I confident enough in front of the people? This is expected from you in the real world. Okay, can you make the presentation to the seniors?
Yes.
So these are the aspects of it which is already there, already exist in our education system. I would say we have to look it from that angle. Oh yeah, I think I can learn from that end, because we are normally what we do. Typically, this is the mindset we have.
Yeah.
We get the grades or we get the marks and we move on.
Yes.
Okay, but the softer aspect of it, normally we don't get into that much, and that's where I feel I've seen a lot of gaps. Okay. And I remember some of my colleagues. I remember having so many interviews along with Sandeep. He can vouch for that. I always used to talk about that. That I think people have to express themselves, right? We have to become confident. He is such a great. He has a 90% marks, but he is not expressing himself. Why? Why you don't have to express? So these are some of the aspects. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. It was great. Thank you so much.
For sure.
Thank you, Aishwarya, for coming to Rendezvous, and it was a pleasure having you here. So I'm going to go back to Amit, and some of the things that he shared right now made me go back to my DICV days. And I was just wondering, why was I not a part of Amit's team? I love having fun. I was good at my work. And I very clearly remember 15 days into joining DICV, I was made to give a presentation to the XCOM.
Okay.
And so I just went back. The whole thing replayed on my head. 15 days with no laptop, no computer. Third day I was I said, okay, XCOM presentation, and didn't even know what was XCOM at that time. So I survived DICV. Amit, are you still need people for your team? Let me know. I don't mind joining, but I don't play them.
You're more welcome. More than welcome.
Thank you, Aishwarya. It was a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you so much, Nandita. It was great being in the session.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.
Okay, Amit, now my question is, with all that you've done, you've been inspiring people, and I've got some fantastic feedback here for you. My question to you is, how conscious are you about investing in your own brand? You said brand, Amit, stands for certain things. Are you very conscious of the fact that you need to create a brand because you've reached a level in the organization where going up or even otherwise being successful, what do you want? How are you doing it is the question, and how conscious are you in making that brand? Let's see a lot of followers.
No, I would say I always remain conscious of that.
Okay.
And I always feel, as I mentioned earlier also, that you always have an opportunity to improve, and I always remain very conscious that how I'm getting perceived. Because I remember in many of the times, whenever I used to give any presentations, I always used to ask some of the seniors, after the interview, after the presentations, how I did. I always like to get that feedback. That okay, how I've been observed. Are there any comments there? Should I do anything different next time?
Very nice.
So, I would keep that hunger in me still today. So, and that's what makes you help understanding the expectations of the people who are surrounding you.
Mm-hmm.
And because I feel you will not always be in the surrounded by the people who knows you. Many times, or many times, you'll be surrounded by the people who have no clue about you, and who should judge you by your content, by your communication, or by expression, how you are dressed up, correct? How well I'm prepared for a meeting. I remember we used to wear a tie that time in DICV, correct? Why that tie was, why that tie was brought in that time, and though now it has been changed and now we wear only jeans, so that has change has happened. But I feel uh, creating a conscious effort and observing uh, that environment, which requires you to keep talking about it,
Okay.
uh, and make those necessary changes in yourself, is needed for the personal branding. I always feel. Yes. And just to ask me, I can ask you one question. Then you are into the personal branding areas also, Nandita, and I'm good to see that from a HR you also nowadays doing the personal branding for some of the organization in India. How is that going on? How is the experience there now?
It's a good experience, Amit. I think we again, coming from a background where I did not believe appearance matters, brand matters. When I did face some consequences about it in corporate, I've realized that yes, personal branding matters, and that's why I took up this as a more serious profession for myself after
Mm,
working for so many years in HR. And coupled with my knowledge of HR, I'm able to give solutions. So I work with around 35 to 40 CXOs today across the country, both in corporate and otherwise. I work with a lot of business owners, and my favorite are actors and celebrities. So this is a different genre of people I work with. And I think corporate India is, and I'm going to talk about India first because that's where my client base
mm,
is waking up to the fact that you need to have executive presence.
mm,
They don't call it as executive presence; they're still calling it personality development. Still very, in the nascent stages, if you ask me that way, Amit.
mm,
But yes, there is a conscious effort, and I must thank Daimler for that. 11, 12 years back, they did have a concept of projecting yourself, how are you presenting yourself. Those things were there, so that did give me a strong baseline to start off. But yes, it is important, like you said, and you are validating that very beautifully. But yeah, India is coming up. And though we have, in terms of knowledge, we are superpowers, right? But in terms of presenting, we take a laid back attitude. Chalta hai, koi farak nahi padta. I think that is changing, and it's a good change to see in the corporate.
well, that's
Yeah.
good. I think that's good to know.
So, Amit, who has inspired you when you were talking about brand and you said you went back to your seniors, you took feedback? Any one person or any group of people who've inspired you to be a good, powerful brand?
See, I would not name a person because I have seen in various stages many people I have met, and
Mm-hmm.
I always found you can learn a lot from various people. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, when I'm doing a mentorship during my days in Indore, when I was preparing for my competitive exams, I remember I had a madam and sir that time there, and they were really great inspirations for me, who
Okay.
really inspired me. And then during in the corporates, I have colleagues like Amitabh we mentioned. Okay, he's a very great colleague. We had shared a lot of good things, and I said I always good to learn from the people like who you know you, correct? Joginder sir. Okay,
Need to be
you can learn,
impressed. Yeah.
energy from him, correct? You can see the energy from him. So you don't have to like always look at a person. Okay, yes, he is in the hierarchy here and there. I think one aspect I can tell you in that regards is everybody has a 35 years of around 35 years of professional life. Okay, from a professional environment.
Mhm.
And one very good saying somebody told me: the way you behave with the people when you're climbing the ladder,
Mhm.
remember people will be behaving with the same way when you are climbing down, when you are going down. So people will be behaving with you, because this is a very good saying I had learned. So you have to be conscious enough that okay, there will be always be end of it, correct? So whatever whatever you're earning today, from the people aspect of it or from the relationship aspect of it, you should be able to retain it. It should not happen that okay, yeah, that person has been praised or that person has been liked because he was sitting at that seat or that desk. They should see you as a person, not a title as a person. So that is how I would see it.
So amazing, Amit. That was quite interesting. So I have learned the same from my father. It is not your position that gets you, relationship. It's who you are as a person, and that's exactly what we talk in branding. And I've got to hear a lot of people talk about it from your perspective also, that it is about being who you are, being authentic, being real, being genuine. I hear all that about you. So are you open for a rapid fire round?
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Before that, I will just ask one question, that your favorite person, you've been naming this guy for a very long time, person for a very long time. Amit, Sandeep Tiwari has asked a question. Any new learning during lockdown which has enhanced your working in business or in personal life? Okay. Personal, you can talk to Amit directly, Sandeep directly.
No, I think one thing I liked is how, first of all, this lockdown helped me understand what is really needed, correct?
Okay.
And some of the things which you were striving during non-lockdown days or the normal days, what used to be important for us, we realized, I think those were not the aspects you really need in life. You can
True.
have a simple, you can have a simple lifestyle and still enjoy, okay? And you can be surrounded by your family and still work more efficiently. Earlier that was never been the case. Then that never been the thought. Yes, oh, at home I cannot work or whatever. From distance efficiency will not work. That mindset was always there. So I would say lockdown helped me two aspects, Sandeep. One, knowing what is really important for us, and secondly, how can you still remain productive and efficient even from the distance. So these are the two learnings I had.
Okay. So, Sandeep, I hope that answers your question. Other than that, you can contact Amit personally. Okay. So, are we ready for the rapid fire, Amit?
Sure.
Right? First question. What is your brand statement?
A professional with sporting spirit and creative writer.
Beautiful. What is your style statement?
Neatly dressed at occasions.
Okay. What are your three non-compromise values?
Integrity,
Okay.
discipline,
Okay.
and respect.
Okay. You need to answer fast. These are rapid fire questions, Amit.
Okay.
How would you depict them in your daily work?
No, I'm remain intentional about it. That I'm not compromising any of those, and I'm really conscious enough for that.
Last question. What is the legacy that Amit Sharma wants to leave behind?
People should give a pause when they think about me and at least have a smile on their face. Yes, he was a genuine and humble person.
Okay.
As a friend, as a colleague.
Beautiful, Amit. I think you've got yourself a gift hamper. I will courier it to North Carolina once the courier service is open in India. Or anytime you're coming to Chennai, do let me know. I'd be happy to meet up with you on that.
For sure. No, thank you for that.
Amit, I have two last questions for you. One is, what is your one line, take or recommendation to people working in corporate who are getting frustrated because of the current environment or whatever? What is your one line statement to them? Once to become a powerful brand is whatever I know.
Believe in yourself and adopt as per the challenges.
Okay, believe in yourself and adopt as per the challenges. Beautiful. Okay. Any one, my personal request, Okay.
Yeah.
And that is why I said I leave it for the last. And a request of a lot of people, including Joginder sir and a couple of others. दो लाइनें आप पक्का सुनाएंगे, आपने प्रॉमिस किया था मुझे.
दो लाइन सुनाएंगे मतलब मैं कुछ
आपकी
मुझे
लिखी
याद
हुई.
है चेन्नई में जब बारिश हुई थी, याद है हम लोग बाढ़ आ गई थी चेन्नई में, है ना, हम
I remember.
ट्रक लेके जाया करते थे लोगों को लेने के लिए तो मुझे याद है तो
वो बनाया गया था ऑपरेशन सेंटर आप लोग के घरों पे.
हाँ, उस समय मैंने कुछ एक थॉट आया था कि क्योंकि उस समय काफी बारिश होती थी, आई रिमेम्बर दैट.
हाँ.
सो एंड so always used to see those thunders, बिजलियां कड़क रही हैं, आवाज आ रही हैं. तो मैं एक विचार आया था उस वक्त कि बादलों की दरार से झांकती हैं बिजलियां, क्या ये बता रही हैं, बादलों की दरार से झांकती है बिजलियां, क्या ये बता रही हैं कि ऊपर से कोई मुश्किल में फंसे हुए इन लोगों के बीच की परेशानियां ढूंढ रहा है.
अमेजिंग अमित. ये आपने उस टाइम नहीं सुनाया हम लोग को जब हम लोग बैठ के ये डिस्कस करते थे ट्रक कैसे जाना है, खाना कैसे पहुंचाना है.
मैं ये लिखा था घर पे बैठ के उस वक्त.
So Amit, I have known you as a colleague. I've known you as a neighbor. I've seen you as a person who, I've teams used to fight. I've seen all that happen. Amit ko apni team mein rakh lo, team jeet jayegi. When we used to have these inter-block matches that happened. I've seen all the beer and biryani parties that you used to host on the clubhouse terrace with the entire procurement team there. But yes, what I've learned from you today is a very, very different aspect, and it is beautiful to know a person as humble, as grounded as you. It was my pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Nandita, for giving me opportunity, and thank you to all my friends who have listened this. Thank you. I appreciate it.